Assalamu alaikum everyone, this is Introduction to Psychology Part 1 PSY 312 by Dear Knowledge. Today in this video we will be starting the chapter 3, which is the biological basis of behavior. And in this video, in chapter 3, we will start with the lesson 1, which is neuron, and we will be discussing its structure and functions in great detail. And in this video we will start with the part 1 of the lesson 1. So, if we talk about the scope of biological psychology in the perspective of a biological basis of behavior, if we showed you a picture of a bicycle, you would not find it difficult to verbally identify it. If we handed you today's newspaper, you could read the headlines back to us and explain what they mean. If you watch a TV talk show, you could easily follow the rapid exchange of dialogue between two riled up guests. In this video, you will also gain a better understanding of biological basis of your own behavior. Indeed, one important way to make sense out of your experience is to understand the physical structures and processes that are responsible for them. If you think about it, the psychological you is really inseparable from the biological you. Psychological processes are closely linked to biological processes, and biological processes can profoundly influence human behavior. In this video, we will lay an important foundation by helping you develop a broad appreciation of the nervous system, the body's primary communication network. We will start by looking at the most essential cells of the nervous system called neurons. We will also consider the organization of the nervous system and a closely linked communication network, the endocrine system. We'll then move on to a guided tour of the brain, and then we will look at how certain brain areas are specialized to handle different functions, such as languages, vision, and touch. In the application, we will discuss how the brain responds to the environmental stimulation by literally altering its structure. In this video, we will be discussing the neurons, its structure and functions in great detail. So in this video, we will start with the structure of neurons, the function of neurons, the types of neurons, and the characteristics of neurons in great detail. In this video, I have included three definitions of the neurons. The first definition is cells in the nervous system are called neurons, and the nervous system is comprised of billions of neurons, or you can say highly specialized cells that communicates information in the electrical and chemical form. A nerve cell, or you can say neurons are individual cells in the nervous system that receive, integrate, and transmit information. So, the activity of the human brain is so complex that no computer has ever come close to duplicating it. Your nervous system contains as many cells busily integrating and relying in information as there are stars in our galaxy. Whether you are scratching your nose or composing an essay, the activity of those cells underlies what you do. It is little wonder then that many psychologists have dedicated themselves to exploring the biological basis of behavior. So the number of neurons in the nervous system is astronomical. The human brain is estimated to have 100 billion neurons. To help put this in perspective, if you could count neurons at the rate of 1 per second, it would take over 3,000 years to count the neurons in the human brain. For the record, no one has actually counted all the neurons in the nervous system because most neurons, especially many of those in the compact areas that brain occupies, are extremely small, and special magnifying equipment such as the electron microscope is usually needed to study them. Fortunately, For the neuroscientists, there are often striking similarities between the working of human brain system and those of the nervous system of many other creatures in the animal kingdom. Very simple creatures such as sea snail and squid tend to have larger neurons and simpler nervous system than do humans. So neuroscientists have been able to observe the actions and reactions of a single neuron by studying the nervous system of such simple animals. Along with the neurons, the human nervous system is made up of other type of specialized cells called glial cells. Glial cells are the support cells that assist neurons by providing structural support, nutrition, and removal of cell waste, manufacture myelin sheet. Uh, Glial cells outnumber neurons by about 10 to 1, but are much smaller. Unlike neurons, glial cells do not send or receive information. They are cast in supporting roles to the major player, the neuron. And glial is Greek word which means glue. And at one time it was believed that glial cells were the glue that held the neurons of the brain together. Although they don't actually glue neurons together, glial cells do provide structural support for neurons. Glial cells also provide nutrition, enhance the speed of communication between neurons, and remove waste products, including dead or damaged neurons. So, if we talk about the structure of neurons, so cells in the nervous system are called neurons, and the nervous system is comprised of billions of neurons. Although neurons differ in some respect, and each neuron has four major parts. Number one is the cell body. Number two is several dendrites, the short and thick and extensions. And number three is one or more axons of varying lengths. But usually only one long and thin axon that extends a considerable distance from the cell body. And number four is terminal buttons on the many end branches of axon. When a neuron is appropriately stimulated at its cell body or through its dendrites, a nerve impulse travels down the axon to the terminal ending. Between the terminal endings of the sending axons and the cell membranes of the receiving neurons, there are small gaps called synapses. So let's talk about the function of neurons. The first part was the soma or cell body. Soma is a Greek word which means body. Soma or cell body contains the cell nucleus and much of the chemical machinery common to most cells. And the rest of the neuron is devoted exclusively to banding information. The neuron have a number of branches, a tree-like structure called dendritic tree, or you can say dendrite. Dendrite is a Greek word which means tree. Each individual branch is a tree-like. Dendrites are the part of the neurons that are specialized to receive information. Cells, sometimes thousands of others, and like they are dendritic tree. They are specialized to receive information, and from the many dendrites, information flow into the cell body and then travels away from the soma along the axons. Axons is a Greek word for exile. Axle. The axon is a long, thin fiber that transmits signals away from the soma to other neurons or to muscles or glands. Axons may be quite long, sometimes several feet, and they may branch off to communicate with a number of other cells. In human, many axons are wrapped in cells with a high concentration of a white fatty substance called myelin. The myelin sheet is uh, an isolating material derived from glial cells that encases some axons. The myelin sheet speeds up the transmission of signal that move along axons. If an axon myelin sheet deteriorates, its signals may not be transmitted effectively, and the loss of muscle control seen with disease multiple sclerosis, which is due to the degeneration of myelin sheet. The axons end in a cluster of terminal buttons, which are small knobs that secrete chemical called neurotransmitters, and these chemicals serve as messenger that may activate neighboring neurons. The point at which neurons interconnect are called synapse. A synapse is a junction where information transmitted from one neuron to another, and synapse is a Greek word which means junction. So let's start with the types of neurons and characteristics of neurons. If we talk about the types of neurons, there are sensory. So basically, there are three types of neurons: the sensory neuron, the motor neuron, and the interneurons. Uh, Neurons vary greatly in size and shape, reflecting their specialized function. There are three basic types of neurons, each communicating different kinds of information. So, sensory neuron is a type of neuron that convey information to the brain from specialized cells in sense organ and in internal organs. Sensory neurons convey information about the environment, such as light or sound, from specialized receptor cells in the sense organs to the brain. Sensory neurons also carry information from the skin and internal organs to the brain. Now let's come to the motor neurons. Motor neurons communicate information to the muscles and glands of the body. Simply blinking your eyes activates thousands of motor neurons. Now let's come to the interneurons. Interneurons are the type of neuron that communicate information from one neuron to the next, and interneuron communicate information between neurons. By far, most of the neurons in the human nervous system are interneurons, and many interneurons connect to other interneurons. Most neurons have three basic components: a cell body, dendrites, and axons. So, if we talk about the cell body, it is a part of the neuron that contains cell body contains the nucleus, which provides energy for the neurons to carry out its function. The cell body also contains genetic material and other structures that are found in virtually all the ends in the body. And dendrites are the multiple short fibers that extend from the neuron's cell body and receives information from other neurons or from sensory receptors. Dendrites extending out from the cell body are many short branching fibers called dendrites, and the term dendrites come from a Greek word meaning tree, as we have discussed earlier, and the intricate branching of the dendrite often resemble the branches of a tree or bush. So dendrites receive messages from other neurons or specialized cells. Mm, Dendrites with many branches have a greater surface area, which increases the amount of information the neurons can receive. And some neurons have thousands of dendrites. Whereas axon is the long fluid-filled tube that carries a neuron's message to other body areas. The axon is a single elongated tube that extends from the cell body in most, though not all, neurons. Some neurons do not have axons, but axons carry information from the neurons to other cells in the body, including neurons, glands, and muscles. In contrast, to the potentially large number of dendrites, a neuron has more than one axon existing from the cell body. However, many axons have branches near their tips that allow the neurons to communicate information to more than one target. Axons can vary enormously in length. Most axons are very small, some are no more than a few thousandths of an inch long. Other axons are quite long. For example, the largest axon in your body is that the motor neuron that controls your big toe. This neuron extends from the bases of your spine into your foot. If you happen to see a 7-foot tall basketball player, this axon could be your feet long. For most of us, of course, this axon is closer to 3 feet long. The axons of many, though not all, neurons are surrounded by myelin sheath. The myelin sheath is a white fatty covering wrapped around the axons of some neurons that increases their communication speed. So myelin sheath is a white fatty covering that manufactured by special glial cells, and much the same way that you can bundle together electrical wires if they are insulated with plastic. Myelin helps insulate one axon from axons of other neurons. So rather than forming a continuous coating of the axons, the myelin sheath occurs in segments that are separated by a small gaps that there is no myelin, and the small gaps are called nodes of Renbier, or simply nodes. Neurons wrapped in myelin sheath communicate their messages up to 20 times faster than do unmyelinated neurons. The importance of myelin becomes readily apparent when it is damaged. For example, multiple sclerosis is a disease that involves the degeneration of patches of myelin sheath. Degeneration causes the transmission of the neural messages to be slowed or interrupted, resulting in disturbance in sensation and movement, and muscular weakness, loss of coordination, and speech and visual disturbance are some of the symptoms that characterize multiple sclerosis. So this was the end of the video. If you like the video, your concept is clear, you can like the video, and if not, you can ask us in the comment and we will try our level best to clear your concepts, because our main aim is to clear your concept. And if you want to get notification of the upcoming videos, you can subscribe to our channel. And if you want us to upload any request based video, you can also tell us in the comment and we will try our level best to upload a request based video on your favorite topic. And you can also share the link of this channel or the link of this video with your friends and family, because sharing is caring. Until then, Allah Hafiz.